This is Duke University.
My name's Luke Bretherton and I am Associate Professor of Theological Ethics and Senior Fellow at the Keenan Institute for Ethics. And I've just moved here from King's College London. A lot of my work relates to the whole area of faith-based organisations and the interconnections between the church and its kind of mission and ministry in the world. I don't think there is the Christian approach. I think there's a broad conversation, but I think there are, for myself, kind of key voices and someone like Augustine, and actually I'm a huge fan of Calvin. I think he's one of the people who recovers an idea of a kind of properly republican political life, in this earthly city, riven by these conflicts. What Christians should attend to is those ways of bridging and building a common life between different others. Politics is always about making difficult choices. So if you're very keen on pro-life and have strong commitments around family life, one will probably tend more towards Republican. But I think in that, one needs to recover a properly conservative Republican vision, one that isn't really the kind of utopian revolutionary Republican vision, which is this kind of neoliberal marketisation of everything. But likewise, those who are very concerned around women's rights or the kind of domination of financial markets, one's going to veer more towards Democrats. But again, one better get involved there and ensure that that isn't a kind of simply technocratic, statist party that has no kind of regard for corporate forms of life, such as churches and others. But see, both of them are highly militaristic, which I think, again, should be a problem for Christians. One of the big problems the church has to face is key temptations. One of the temptations is the problem of co-option, of how we co-opted by the state. So the church simply becomes a kind of mechanism for generating social glue. And we can think of slightly problematic nature of the White House's faith-based and neighbourhood partnerships initiative, perhaps along those lines. The other is the ways in which often the church adopts what we might call communalist discourses, ideas that we're just another identity group fighting for our place in the kind of political order or social order, economic order. And that obviously pits the church in competition or in conflict with its neighbours, rather than, so they're not neighbours to be loved, we're in competition with them. But the third temptation is this idea I've talked about before of commodification. Christianity just becomes another kind of lifestyle choice. You do Tai Chi or yoga one day and you'll do a bit of church the next. There's perhaps a fourth temptation besides communalism, co-option and commodification, is what we might call clientelism. And that's the idea the church, I think, often falls into, which is a kind of noblesse oblige, charitable giving, philanthropic giving to those less fortunate than ourselves. And there's a refusal of any notion of mutual, reciprocal life. And again, it's this idea of a common life. So it's I give to others, but I don't want anything to do with them. I just write a cheque. So in London, obviously you have get out and about, but here I'm enjoying, I take my kids to the local skate park, which is, so I enjoy watching that. And one of the great things about being here is actually quite how accessible things. I went to the Carrboro Music Festival and I love music. And my wife's a chef, so it's a fantastic place for food. And so we've been doing a kind of tour of barbecue shacks around. So we're compiling a best of local barbecue joints. One of the things about coming to here, to Duke and to America, and particularly this bit of America, the Southeast, is I think there's a very rich but largely ignored American tradition. And I'm a big fan of the populists. And the populists, particularly from the kind of 1870s onwards, and you think about down in Wilmington, some people like the Fusionists and the Farm Workers Alliance, and they were very big on the whole question of the limits to money, and they were being made debt peonies, and there was both black and white, and there was interesting alliances between them. One of the first instances of genuinely biracial politics in America. And you can trace a lot of things like the civil rights movement, like community organizing and other forms, to the kinds of practices that the populists developed. I don't want to idealize them, but I think we can look at the ways in which churches, along with others, have navigated what it means to be political, i.e. to exist in this age before the age to come, before Christ's return, as it were, and see this age, not to invest it with messianic or salvation properties. It's just political. It's just the ways in which we navigate and negotiate and compromise around the common life, the things we have in common. And that's I think, a key thing the church needs to relearn. How can it do that kind of common life politics?
Produced by Duke University. Online at duke.edu.